Today I'm going to walk through monthly tasks all property investors need to do. This is applicable to any property investor, whether you have a large property portfolio or you just have one and you're looking at expanding it. These tasks are important. So I manage hundreds of properties on a daily basis with the help of a fantastic team. We manage hundreds. I oversee the property management section in the company. While I also manage properties, I also do manage the Emerald office in total. And I am, yes, a local in Emerald, Queensland. I did enter the real estate industry at 18 years old as soon as I could legally get my real estate license. I had the door to get into sales, however, I started in property management and I have not looked back ever since. So, what is the first thing every single property investor needs to do? Well, financials. If you don't have money, you can't expand your property portfolio. It is essential to know where your money is going each month. These are the things you have to review from your statements. So I don't know whether you have signed up for monthly or mid-month. Some property managers and companies do weekly disbursements. Either way, at the end of each month, you want to make sure you can calculate and know exactly how much rent has been received, what expenses came out, so ingoings, outgoings, what management fees you paid, any funds spent for maintenance, and are there any additional costs that you didn't know about? For example, if the tenant's breaking lease, you're gonna have to pay an advertising fee. Do you have to pay for photos? You may miss an unusual cost, a hidden cost here and there. So it's important to look at these topics each month and review these financials for each of your properties every single month, because if there are any missed or incorrect costs, because sometimes mistakes do happen, then it's better to pick it up right now than wait until the end of financial year to realize that you're actually $500 out of pocket. The second one is track maintenance. Unfinished maintenance is a massive risk to every single party involved. To you as a landlord, if maintenance is not completed in a reasonable time frame, A, you're going to lose a quality tenant because they're going to go somewhere else where maintenance is actually completed, and B, it's probably going to cause further damage. For example, if your bathroom needs re-siliconing, if that isn't completed soon enough, you're going to have water leaking into the room next to it. Not a good thing at all. So each month, look through your software. Most property managers have a portal that you can view. Check what jobs are open, what jobs have actually been completed this month. Has there anything that has been quoted but not approved? Are you waiting on a second quote? How long is that second quote taking? Because if it's an urgent item and it's taking a while to quote, it's important to get that actioned ASAP. And is there any overdue maintenance? This also comes into, is there any overdue preventative maintenance? Is your termite barrier needing to be refilled? Do you have to clean the gutters again, trim the trees? These are maintenance items that, while they're not a major issue right now, if you leave them, they will become a major issue. So we want to be proactive. That is one of the key contributors to having a successful property portfolio, and also for us as property managers to managing properties effectively. One word, being proactive. And make sure you can keep a job list for each property, because you may note that you replace an aircon in the lounge room at your property. Then a year later, the aircon breaks again. That is a major concern, because you should at least get a few years out of an aircon before you have any maintenance. So keep a job list in an Excel spreadsheet, Word document, whatever works for you. But there's one rule, one single rule. You have to make it simple. You can't make it so that only you understand it, because that's not going to help. Think, if a random family had to manage my properties this month from tomorrow, would they understand what is going on? Would they understand the spreadsheet? If they do, well, that's great. It's going to be super easy to understand. And if you do have somebody help you start managing your entire property portfolio, it's going to be easier for them down the track. Number 3 is performance. No doubt every single investor I know keeps a watchful eye on all the markets that they are investing in or looking to invest in. So we invest in property to make money in some way. That's the sole reason that property investing exists. So if a property is not performing, even if you have an emotional attachment to it, fix it so you are making money, or get rid of it. Holding on to any poor performing properties for any reason, whether it's emotional attachment or you want to help out the tenant, whatever reason, it's a stupid way to invest. It will bring down the rest of your portfolio's performance and make it a nightmare. So things to look for when you're assessing your property's performance. Is the current rent below market? I know some investors want and have specifically requested to keep the rent down to extremely below market for the sake of the tenant. The second thing to look for is, are there any vacancy issues? Are you experiencing tenants moving out every 6 to 12 months? While some areas will have a higher turnover rate with a tenancy in general, if your vacancy rate is a lot higher than the standard properties across the market, well, then there's a concern. And then every single property investor has a plan. So is your property performing as planned? Now, keep in mind, sometimes it is simply time and chance. We can check all the tenants' background, confirm that they're going to pay rent on time, be a great tenant, but then they vacate 6 months later because they lost their job or family situations. So keep in mind that there is an element of time and chance that we can simply not predict. But again, you want to make sure you can predict as much as possible and make sure your property is performing as much as possible within your power. Number 4, review upcoming key dates. Surprises will always cause more stress and will become more expensive rather than dealing with it now and being proactive. Now, I was listening to a video the other day and they were saying that deadlines in general are mostly made up. Now, in real estate, that is definitely not the case. There are numerous deadlines that are actually important and they cannot be pushed back or ignored. You can't say, I'm going to increase the rent in a month because I feel like it. You have to make sure you give at least 2 months notice. So it requires particular planning. So things to review each month for each of your properties. When is the tenant's lease expiring? When was the last rent increase, aka when can you increase the rent? Are there any insurance renewals coming up? Any compliance deadlines? Is the smoke alarm compliance overdue? Does it need to be completed? Gas compliance, do you have that as well? Fixed interest rate expiry, check when your interest rate is expiring with your mortgage. Is it going to increase anytime soon? And something that most investors actually forget, the council rates and water notices. When are they due? What is the expected cost? Because they can range from $2,000 to $4,000 in total, and that is not a surprise anybody wants to deal with. Now you may say, Nathaniel, I only have one property. It doesn't really matter. And yeah, you can get away with it with one property. But if you want to expand your property portfolio, you need to have systems in place. So make sure you have a designated property calendar, some Excel spreadsheet, whatever works for you, that's simple and anybody else can understand. Start doing this with one property. So by the time you have 5 properties, you won't be in a ridiculous mess. Number 5, last one, communication. Most investors fall into one of the below 2 categories. They over-communicate, they're constantly emailing, chasing updates, micromanaging in a sense. Or number 2, they under-communicate. They only speak when there's a major concern, they don't push back on any questions, and frankly, they don't even answer their emails or phones. So if you have numerous properties, expect to be in frequent conversation with your property manager, as more properties will equal more problems. So as a rule of thumb, having at least one conversation with your property manager on a monthly basis is a great idea. With property owners that I work with that have 10 plus properties, we are in constant communication, especially around the lease renewal time, because there is a lot to discuss. I do see with the property investors with only 1 or 2, they only really want to be disturbed when they need to, but it's important that they also reply within a reasonable time frame. Now remember, property managers like me, we manage numerous properties. So unless it is urgent, give us at least 24 hours to respond before following up. And also don't forget to follow up with your accountant and mortgage broker regularly as well. It's important to stay in touch with them for any updates regarding legislation or interest rate hikes. Remember, it may not seem necessary while you have 1 or 2 properties, but you want to make sure you have those systems in place so when you do expand your property to 2, 4, 10 properties, you're not extremely stressed.